Hello, and welcome to day 4 of STEAM Week. Now, today we are going to be making stop motion movies. And you've probably heard of some famous stop motion videos. They are very popular and can look really, really cool. Something you may not realize is that videos don't actually move. I know, it's shocking. When we're watching a video, we're actually watching a series of pictures played very quickly in order to show movement. As technology has increased, we have been able to increase how many frames we show per second. That is why older movies tend to look weird because they show less frames per second. So for standard things that you are watching, you tend to see 24 frames per second, or FPS. In the industry, they tend to use doubles, which means that one frame is going to be used twice. So in reality, you are seeing 12 unique frames every second. Now, for perspective, if you were watching a 30-minute movie, that's going to require 21,600 pictures. And stop motion movies are made by taking all of those pictures individually. Now, we are not going to be making a 30-minute movie. We are going to be making a few seconds worth. And you can choose how long you want your movie to last. My stop motion movie is about 40 seconds, I believe, and I got to choose my frame rate as well. I didn't use the standard 24 frames per second. I believe I used like 5 or 7 frames per second. So that's what's fun about this, is you get to decide how you want your stop motion movie to look. And the link for the stop motion video I made will be in the description below. And this is the process I went through in order to make that movie. Now I'm going to show you how to make a stop motion video, how to use the app, and what kind of editing might go into this.
So, in order to create a stop motion video, you're not going to need very many things. You will need a phone or a iPad so that you can create your stop motion. You need different kinds of props, and you can use 2D, you can use 3D. If you look at the video I made before, you'll see I did it with a Rubik's Cube and rubber duckies. And so you can use 3D or you can play with 2D. And I'm going to show you what those techniques might look like. You also need something to stack up so your phone can face whatever you're doing and stay steady. I used blocks, but you can use books or any other things that you have in your house. If you have a kickstand or a pop socket on the back of your phone, that can also be really helpful. So I'm going to set it up so that you can see my phone and what I'm doing in the app, but you'll also be able to see what we are doing out here. Okay, so if you look at the phone, you will see that I have chosen StickBot Studio 2.0 as the app we're going to use. This is something that can be found on both Apple and Android devices, so and it seems has a lot more free options. You can edit videos and you can add sound. A lot of the other apps I was looking at you had to pay a little bit so you can use some of these features, but this is specifically designed for kids, and so a lot of the things are free. So you would open that up, and you'd be brought to StickBot Studio 2.0, and you can just select Create a Movie, and now we're in movie mode. And so this is where you get to decide where you want your camera. So I'm going to see if I can get it to point down at my table here. So I've set up this shot. You can see that it goes out, and when you go further back it goes to the middle, but that is fine. You can play with this as much as you want and figure out what you want. But this will be my framing. This will kind of be what people see. If you want, you could put something on the back so that they could stick up more. I think I'm going to do that for the dinosaur, so it's pops up a little bit more and you just notice it. So there, you can see I just took a cap to something and taped it to the back just so that I could prop it up, just because everything looked a little 2D. If I had the camera facing straight down, which I might be able to do if I had a tripod that worked for my phone, or I could set up some books and stuff and have the camera coming straight out. There are a bunch of ways to do this. I'm working with the tools I have. You can honestly use whatever you have. That's what's really cool about stop motion animation, is you can use anything. Like you can use toys, and I've seen some where they turn food into animals or tell a story. So I'm going to be telling the story about this little dinosaur. He doesn't have a name, or she. They are going to the park, but I realized we could call it a Jurassic Park. And he's just going to go down the slide. So it's going to be a couple of shots of him walking through the trees and then getting to Jurassic Park, climbing up the slide and moving down. It may seem very simple, but stop motion animation takes time, and you're going to want to make sure that you can tell a very short story. And we're having fun, and I don't have to make so many frames per second. I can play with that if I want. If I only want 5 frames per second or 12. The app automatically puts it at 12, but we can go in and edit that afterwards. So I'm going to set up my first shot. So I don't need the slide or the park yet. I'm gonna start out with the dinosaur front and center. And the way I'm gonna do this first shot is the dinosaur's actually just going to stay there, and I'm gonna have the trees slowly move past in the back and then one in the front. You also going to want to be careful to not move your setup that you have in order to record. You might also want to make some sort of markings on whatever you're doing. When I made the other stop motion animation, I put a post-it note on there so I knew where to put the Rubik's Cube back every time I picked it up, because I had to pick it up to move each piece. In this app, it'll be a little bit easier to see those things, so we'll see how this goes. I have not used this app to make a stop motion animation before, so this is new to all of us. So I'm going to start with a shot of the dinosaur. So all I would do is hit the camera button. Oh, except I just realized my hand's in the shot. So I would take that back and I would make a new shot. Now you can see it's a little hazy. What that is it's showing you what the last shot looked like. So then I could go and add the tree there. Make sure I'm out of the shot, take another photo, and you can see that on the right here, I can see where the tree was originally, and I can move the tree over a little bit and show how much movement that would have. So he has just walked past the first tree. We can look at that and see what that looks like. So it's loading photos. We can always go back and look at these. So I want to delete that first photo there because I messed it up. I can just select it and hit delete. And it'll ask me, are you sure you want to delete this? And I'll be like, yes. So then we had our first shot. So I'm going to hit play and see what that looked like. Oh, look, that did look like it was a tree walking past. I don't like using the 12 frames per second. It just takes a lot more work then to make something, because every second then takes 12 pictures. I was doing 5 for the other one, so I'm going to see if I can change that. I know there's an option somewhere. Okay, so to change the frames per second, you would come up to this little plus sign in the corner, and then you'd see an infinity loop, you see what looks like a speedometer, music, and a microphone. So we would hit the speedometer and change how many frames per second. I'm going to change it to 5. You can set it to whatever you think is helpful for you, and you can even play around with it. So I could set it to 5 and be like, oh, that's too slow, and then change it to 8. It really doesn't matter. It's truly how you think it looks. So if we hit it for 5 frames per second, let's see what that looks like now. See, it's a much more slow, which is kind of what I want. I want it to take a little bit more time. I do like having a little bit of that movement to make it look like he's moving. So now I'm going to go back to the camera section. They call it movie mode. So then I can continue my stop motion animation. So I'm going to put the tree back over, and I'm going to do where the tree moves in front of the dinosaur to make it look like it's moving more and there's more space. You don't have to do all of this. I thought this would be a cool thing. This is kind of, I thought of this first before I even got to the Jurassic Park thing, is like, maybe he can be like walking through the trees. And so that is how I chose my idea. So make sure I'm not in the shot. There's a little shot of the tree. Take a picture, move it over. Oh no. So like, here's an example. I kind of moved my dinosaur a little bit, and I didn't quite want that. I noticed that in the last shot, but it wasn't too bad. So what's really nice about this is I can then look at the frame and kind of see where I am. I'm not going to get it exactly right again, but it can be helpful to like figure out where did things go. So that's pretty close, so I'm going to keep it there. And it's okay that objects move like a little bit if it happens. That is totally fine. It actually kind of adds to the fact of like, yeah, remember, we're watching a stop motion animation. So don't feel like you have to start over. Okay, so now I've walked past 2 trees. I'm gonna go see how that looks. Oh, I didn't realize that. So because I was set to the first frame, it added it to the front part. I may be able to move those around. I'll have to check when we're editing, but it doesn't matter at this point. So now you have to be aware that wherever you end up, so if I want to add pictures to the end of this, I would want to be at the end of my slideshow. So then I would go back to camera. So now I'm gonna show the Jurassic Park sign. I'm gonna kind of set that in the corner here and kind of do a similar thing. We'll get to different techniques when we get to the slide. And you know what? I kind of want my dinosaur to do a little wiggle because it got to the park. So I'm going to move it slightly upwards, back to the middle, and downwards. And you can, if you want to do an action multiple times, you can copy and paste pictures in the editing. I'm just going to do another full wiggle to kind of just show what that looks like. And so then you'll want to make sure you're moving both objects now. So here's a tricky part. I'm actually going to want the slide to be center stage, so I'm actually going to move all 3 of them down. So I'm going to move this over a little bit. I'm going to move our little dinosaur here, and we'll move the slide over. And maybe I want a slightly smaller jump because it looked too big in the frame. Too big of a jump that I wanted. There we go. So I would take this picture. And there we go. We have completed the picture taking portion. What's nice about this is that if you realize you messed something up and you want to take another picture, you can always go back and use these again. So keep these around, don't just get rid of them. So now I'm going to go into the edit mode. So I would go back here. And it's loading all my photos. So let's watch this right now. So we have the tree, we have the other tree, we see Jurassic Park, and it does a little wiggle. He climbs up the slide, goes down the slide, and jumps. Cool, I think this looks cool. So I'm going to fix a couple of things because I noticed I I remember I had my hand in a shot, so I'm going to go and I'll find that shot and delete it. Yes, I want to delete. Make sure you're careful when you're deleting these because like the app says, once they're gone, they're gone. Here's another one that I had my hand in, so I'm going to delete it. But realize just because you have your hand in a shot doesn't necessarily mean that shot's ruined. When I did the other stop motion video, my hand was purposely in it. Like my hand was all powerful and came and solved the Rubik's Cube. So like you can use people too for stop motion. They have a little bit of a harder time standing still, but you can make a stop motion video using anything. So I kind of want him to jump again because he only really jumped once. So I'm going to actually start copying and pasting and show you what that might look like. So here is our landing position, and then we also have a landing position there. So I want to get to the landing position again. So the first piece of the jump, I'm going to copy, and then I'm going to come all the way to the end, and I'm going to paste it. I jump, and I jump again. Cool. And that's a great way to add seconds to your stop motion animation is copying things, because if it looks cool once, you can always just do it again. I really like being able to add sound to stop motion animation because you can have fun with sound effects, and you know, when something jumps, it can go boing, and you can have music. So this app has some. So if you go to the plus sign in the right on the right side, you will see there's a little music option. You can select that. And it shows you all these kinds of music. We have background music. There's sound effects that you can play with. But you know, you also have this option for a recording. So you could record yourself telling a story over it. I'm going to choose background music because I think that's fun to have in the background. So I think we're going to do with silly, because this is a silly video. Yeah. So let's add that. So then I'm going to listen to it. I think it would be really fun to add like a boing sound at the end when it jumps. So let me see if I can do that. So I want, when we get to the slide, so I'm going to want it as soon as it jumps up. So I think the first frame where it's up, I'm going to add the boing. So let me hit the little plus sign. We're going to go to the music. We're going to go to sound effects. I'm going to go with the third boing. Yeah, so we'll add that. So let's see what that sounds like. We're going to back it up a few seconds. Yeah, I can definitely add a second boing. So this is a short little thing, but you can make yours as long or as short as possible. When I made the other stop motion video, it was around 20 seconds, 21 seconds, and I had around 100 frames. Here I have around 60, and so that was 60 individual pictures. But I've seen stop motion animation that's like 2 seconds, and they're really cool. So you can make this as long or as short as possible. This is another fun way to tell a story, to do something goofy. I will set some links up in the PDF so that you guys can go and look at other people's stop motion animation and see what they look like and maybe get inspiration. So the last thing you would want to do is you would want to save this. You can pick the quality of your download. So I'm going to pick the highest resolution, and it's creating my movie. So once it says it's been saved to your gallery, you should be able to go to whatever app you use to look at your photos, and it should be there, and you can select it. And then you can upload that to YouTube if you want to, or a Flipgrid where it will be sharing our stuff. So you can do that and share it with your friends.